They called me a burden long before they touched me. Too big, too black, too much shame to stand beside their son. In that basement, while rain leaked through the ceiling, the groom's mother pressed her wedding ring into my skin and carved one word into my arm: burden. I didn't scream for help. I didn't tell the truth, because if I spoke, a 10-year-old girl would lose the only roof she had. They dragged me outside, bleeding, and threw me into the street like I was nothing, and I stayed quiet, because silence was the price of her safety. That's when a black Mercedes stopped in front of me. The door opened. A man stepped out, cold eyes, calm voice, tattoos climbing his neck. He looked at my arm once, then asked, "Who the hell did this to you?" I begged him not to ask again. 7 hours later, the groom was gone, and my silence, meant to save a child, destroyed the last thing I had left. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about what happens when justice comes anyway and takes everything with it. The rain mixed with my blood. Before the story continues, let me say this. If these stories comfort you, entertain you, or make you feel understood, please subscribe. It's free, but it means everything to this channel. Now, let's continue. The rain mixed with my blood on the sidewalk. I pressed my hand against the carved word, feeling the raised skin, the sticky warmth. My fingers trembled. The street was empty except for passing headlights that turned the puddles into mirrors of light. Each reflection showed me what I already knew. I was alone. I'd been alone for years. The Kim family made sure of that. When I'd first met Min Dune 3 years ago, I thought I'd found something real. He was charming in that quiet way some men have, like they're holding back an ocean of words just for you. We'd met at the community center where I volunteered, teaching kids to read. He'd come to pick up his little sister, Hana, 10 years old, all knobby knees and gap-toothed smiles, hair in 2 neat braids that her mother, Min Jun's stepmother, never bothered to fix properly. The girl had latched onto me immediately, the way lonely kids do when they finally find someone who sees them. "Miss Zuri, you're so pretty," she'd say, running her small fingers along my arm. "Why don't you have a husband?" I'd laugh it off, but Min Jun had been listening. Our relationship started slow. Coffee after my shifts at the hotel where I cleaned rooms for $12 an hour. Walks through the park where we'd watch Hana play on the swings. He never seemed bothered by the stares, the whispers, the way people looked at us. Him, slender and polished in his pressed shirts, and me taking up space in my worn-out jeans. "You're beautiful," he'd say, and I almost believed him. Almost. 6 months in, he proposed. "Small ceremony," he said. "Just family." His mother insisted. That's when everything changed. Mrs. Kim took one look at me and her face hardened into something ancient and immovable. She spoke in Korean to Min Jun, rapid-fire words that made his jaw clench. I didn't need translation. Disgust sounds the same in every language. "She is not appropriate," Mrs. Kim said to me later, her English clipped and precise. "My son deserves better than this." She gestured at me, at all of me. This. The wedding was called off. Min Jun promised we'd figure it out, but his promises had an expiration date, and his mother's disapproval was permanent. I would have walked away, should have walked away, but then Hana got sick. Leukemia. The treatments cost more than the Kim family wanted to spend on a stepdaughter who wasn't blood. I heard Min Jun arguing with his mother through their front door one evening when I'd stopped by to drop off groceries. Mrs. Kim's voice was ice. "That girl is not our responsibility. Her mother left. Let social services handle it. She's my sister. She's your father's mistake. And that woman you insist on keeping around, another mistake. One we will correct." The door opened. Mrs. Kim looked at me like I was something scraped off her shoe. "You're still here? How pathetic." I should have left then, taken Hana with me somehow, found another way. But I had nothing. No money, no family, no power. All I had was my silence, and the Kim family knew it. They made me a deal. I could keep working at their hotel, the luxury chain they owned downtown. They'd keep paying for Hana's treatments, keep her in their house where she had her own room, her own things, stability. But I had to disappear from Min Jun's life, completely. No contact, no explanations. And if I ever told anyone what they were doing, holding a child's life hostage, they'd make sure Hana ended up in foster care as fast as I wouldn't even get to say goodbye. "Sign this," Mrs. Kim said, sliding papers across her pristine dining table. "Non-disclosure. You speak about our family, our business arrangements, our son, we sue you for everything you'll never have. And the child, gone." I signed. That was 8 months ago. For 8 months, I'd cleaned their hotel rooms, taken their orders, swallowed their casual cruelty. Min Jun moved on quickly. His new fiancée was exactly what his mother wanted. Thin, pale, from the right family. The engagement photos were everywhere. She smiled like she'd won something. Maybe she had. I kept my head down, worked my shifts, visited Hana when they allowed it, which wasn't often. The girl was getting thinner, her braids replaced by a pink headscarf, but she was alive. That had to be enough. It should have been enough. Then, tonight happened. The wedding was tomorrow, Min Jun's actual wedding. The hotel was hosting it. Of course it was. I'd been assigned to the cleaning crew for the ceremony rooms. A deliberate humiliation. Mrs. Kim smiled when she'd given me the assignment. "You'll be working during the ceremony," she'd said. "But perhaps you'll hear the vows from the hallway. Won't that be lovely?" I'd nodded, kept my expression blank, felt something inside me go numb. After my shift, I'd gone to the storage basement to clock out. That's when they'd cornered me. Mrs. Kim and her 2 brothers, Min Jun's uncles, large men with expensive suits and cruel eyes. "We wanted to express our gratitude," Mrs. Kim said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "for your discretion, for understanding your place." I tried to leave. One of the uncles blocked the door. "You know," Mrs. Kim continued, "I've been thinking about that contract you signed. It occurs to me that you could still cause problems. A jealous ex-lover at the wedding. A scene. Bad publicity for our family." "I won't." "We know you won't," she'd smiled, "because we're going to make sure you remember exactly what you are." The beating started fast. They didn't hit my face, nothing that would be immediately visible. Body shots. Kicks to my ribs when I fell. Mrs. Kim's brothers held me while she spoke, her voice never rising above a polite dinner conversation tone. "You are nothing, you understand? A fat black woman who thought she could marry into our family. Laughable, pathetic. You're a burden. You've always been a burden." That's when she'd taken off her wedding ring. The basement was cold. The concrete floor was damp. She'd pressed her ring into my forearm and carved the word slowly, deliberately. Burden. Each letter a separate act of hate. I didn't scream. Hana was upstairs in the family quarters, probably sleeping. If I screamed, if I fought back, if I told anyone, they'd take her away. They'd already made it clear, and I believed them. When they were done, they dragged me to the loading dock and threw me into the alley behind the hotel. The rain was already falling. Mrs. Kim stood in the doorway, silhouetted by fluorescent light. "If you show up tomorrow, we call the police. Trespassing. We have cameras showing you stealing from guest rooms. We have witnesses who'll say you've been unstable, violent. You'll go to jail, and Hana goes to the state." Then she closed the door. I'd crawled to the sidewalk. Blood dripped down my arm. Rain soaked through my clothes. My ribs screamed with every breath. I thought about Hana, her gap-toothed smile, the way she called me Miss Zuri like I was someone important. I thought about dying right there in the street. How easy it would be to just stop. Then the Mercedes stopped. The car was sleek and black and completely silent despite the rain. It pulled up to the curb like it had been searching for me specifically. The back door opened before the car fully stopped. A man stepped out, tall, Korean, maybe early 30s, black suit that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. His face was all sharp angles and controlled expressions. Tattoos climbed up his neck, elegant serpentine patterns that disappeared under his collar, but it was his eyes that stopped my breath. Cold, completely cold, like he'd seen every terrible thing the world could offer and felt nothing about it. He looked at me for exactly 3 seconds, then he crouched down, balanced on his heels, and tilted his head slightly. "You're injured." His voice was quiet, accented, matter of fact. I tried to push myself up, failed. My ribs wouldn't cooperate. He glanced at my arm, at the carved word bleeding in the rain. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air around him. The temperature seemed to drop. "Who the hell did this to you?" 5 words, asked like he was commenting on the weather. I shook my head. "Nobody. I fell." "You fell." He repeated it like he was testing the words for lies. "On concrete that carved a word into your arm with perfect letter spacing." "Please," my voice cracked. "Please, just leave me alone." He studied me for another moment, then stood, pulled out his phone and made a call. He spoke in Korean, rapid, clipped sentences. I caught maybe 2 words. "Hospital. Now." "No!" I tried to stand, made it halfway before my legs gave out. Though, he caught me before I hit the ground. His grip was firm, but not rough. He helped me up like I weighed nothing, which was impossible. I was 6 feet tall and 270 pounds. Nobody picked me up. "They'll what?" he asked. "Take Hana away. Ruin the only good thing I protected. Prove that my silence was worthless after all." "Nothing," I whispered. "It's nothing." He made a sound that might have been a laugh if it had any humor in it. Then he lifted me, actually lifted me, and carried me to the Mercedes. "Wait, no, you're bleeding through your shirt. Your breathing is shallow. You possibly have broken ribs and definite lacerations requiring stitches." He placed me in the back seat with surprising gentleness. "You're not staying in the rain." A woman was already in the car, young, professional-looking, with a medical bag open on her lap. She took one look at me and started pulling out supplies. "Jesus. Tay, what?" "Handle it," the man said. "Tay." He slid into the seat across from me. The car started. The woman, who I'd later learn was Dr. So, began cleaning my wounds. Each touch was efficient, practiced. She didn't ask questions, didn't make sympathetic noises, just worked. Tay watched me the entire time. His expression never changed, but his hands were clenched into fists on his knees. "Name?" he asked. "Why?" "Because I asked." Something in his tone made me answer. "Zuri. Zuri James." "Zuri James." He said it like he was filing it away. "Who did this to you?" "I told you." "You told me a lie, and I don't like lies. Let me be clear about something. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you did or didn't do, but someone carved a word into your skin and left you to bleed in the street. That's a message, and I want to know who sent it. It's none of your business. It became my business when I pulled over." Dr. So finished bandaging my arm. She moved to my ribs, which required lifting my shirt. I flinched. She paused. 2 broken ribs. Multiple contusions, defensive wounds on your hands. This was prolonged, deliberate. Tay's jaw clenched. A muscle twitched in his cheek. "Hospital," Dr. So said. "She needs x-rays, proper care." "No," the word came out harder than I intended. "No hospitals, no police, no reports. Someone tried to kill you. Someone tried to teach me my place." I met Tay's eyes, and I learned. "So please just let me go. Drop me off anywhere. I'll be fine. You'll be dead in 3 days if those ribs puncture a lung. Then I'll be dead." The car went silent, except for the rain on the roof. Tay studied me for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made another call. More Korean, shorter conversation. He hung up and met my eyes. "You're going to my doctor, private clinic, no records, no questions." He held up a hand before I could protest. "Not negotiable. You can leave after you're treated, but you're getting treated. Why do you care?" He didn't answer immediately. His eyes went distant, like he was looking at something I couldn't see. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. "Because I know what it looks like when someone decides you're disposable, and I know what it costs to stay silent about it. If you believe Zuri deserves justice for what was done to her, Hit that like button right now and subscribe to Love and Tension. Only people who support bullies scroll past without subscribing. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read every single one, because what comes next will make you question everything you think you know about sacrifice. The clinic was in a building that didn't look like a clinic. Upscale apartment complex, private elevator, third-floor office with no signs, no names, nothing to indicate medical care happened behind the unmarked door. The doctor was a small, elderly Korean man who took one look at me and gestured to an examination table without saying a word. Tae stayed in the room, leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, watching everything like he was memorizing it. The doctor worked in silence. X-rays confirmed the broken ribs. He cleaned and stitched the carved word with careful precision, his expression never changing. Gave me antibiotics, painkillers, instructions in heavily accented English that I barely heard. When he finished, he spoke to Tae in Korean. A longer conversation. Tae's expression darkened with every sentence. He says you've been systematically brutalized. Tae translated. The injuries suggest multiple incidents over time, healed fractures, scar tissue. You've been someone's punching bag for months. I looked away. The word is deliberate humiliation, branding. It's a signature. Tae's voice went colder. Someone wanted you to remember, to carry their message on your skin. I remember, I said quietly. Can I go now? Where? Good question. I'd been staying in a weekly motel on the bad side of town. $40 a night I could barely afford, but I couldn't go back there, not bleeding, not broken. The manager would call the cops, thinking I'd bring trouble. I'd lose even that. Nowhere, I admitted. Nowhere that matters. Tae made that not quite laugh sound again. Then he pulled out his phone, made another call, and rattled off an address. You're staying at one of my properties tonight. Penthouse suite, secure building. No one gets in without clearance. I can't afford. You're not paying. It's not charity. It's collateral. Because you're going to tell me who did this, and I'm going to handle it. That's the transaction. I already told you I'm not. 3 hours ago, someone tried to make you disappear. They brutalized you, branded you, left you to die in the rain. His voice was still quiet, still controlled, but there was something underneath now, something sharp. I'm offering you safety, medical care, time to heal. All I want in return is a name. And if I don't give you one, then you stay anyway, and I find out on my own. He tilted his head slightly. I will find out, Zuri James. The only question is whether you save me time by telling me now, or whether I spend the next 3 days turning over every rock in this city until someone talks. I believed him. Why? I asked. Why do you care so much about a stranger bleeding in the street? His expression went cold again, distant, like he was looking at ghosts. Because 5 years ago, someone I cared about was bleeding in a street, and I was too late to ask who did it. So now I ask everyone, every time. He straightened off the wall. The car's waiting. You can tell me on the way, or you can tell me later, but you will tell me. The penthouse was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture that looked like art installations, a kitchen bigger than my entire motel room. Everything was black, white, or chrome. Clean lines, no personality, like a hotel suite designed by someone who'd forgotten what homes felt like. Tae showed me to the bedroom. King-sized bed with sheets that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Attached bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in. Rest, he said. I'll have clothes brought up. Food, whatever you need. I don't need anything. You need everything. He turned to leave, then paused in the doorway. There's a security system. No one comes up without my clearance. You're safe here. Until when? Until you tell me who did this, or until I find out myself. Whichever comes first. Then he left. I stood alone in the bedroom, feeling the painkillers starting to kick in. My ribs ached. My arm throbbed under the bandages. I could smell the antiseptic from the clinic on my skin. I walked to the windows and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Min Jun was probably sleeping. Tomorrow, he'll marry someone acceptable, someone thin and pale and appropriate. His mother would smile. Hana would be in the audience, if they let her attend, if she was strong enough. And I'd be here, in a stranger's penthouse, protected by a man with cold eyes and tattoos and too many questions. I pressed my hand against the window, felt the cool glass against my palm. 7 hours. That's what he had said on the drive over when I'd finally, stupidly, given him just enough information. Not names, not specifics, just a hotel, a family, a wedding tomorrow. Noted, he said. Just that one word. 7 hours until the wedding started. I should have kept my mouth shut, but God help me, I was tired. So tired of being silent, of swallowing every insult, every blow, every casual cruelty, of protecting people who'd never protected me. I'd told myself it was for Hannah, that my silence kept her safe, but standing there in that ridiculous penthouse, looking at my reflection in the dark glass, I wondered if I'd just been protecting my own cowardice, if I'd let them destroy me because it was easier than fighting back, easier than risking everything on a chance that might fail. The carved word on my arm burned under the bandages. Burden. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'd always been too much weight for anyone to carry. I didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mrs. Kim's face, felt her ring pressing into my skin, heard her voice so calm and polite, explaining exactly what I was worth. Around 4 a.m., I heard the front door open, footsteps in the hall. Then Tay appeared in the bedroom doorway, still in his suit, looking exactly as composed as he had hours ago. "You should be resting. You should be sleeping." "I don't sleep much." He walked to the windows, stood beside me, looking out at the city. "I have been making calls." My stomach dropped. "What kind of calls?" "The kind that get me information." He glanced at me. "The hotel you mentioned. I know it. The Kim family owns it. Min-Jun Kim is getting married there this afternoon. His mother, Mrs. Kim, runs the family business. They have a reputation." I said nothing. "They're connected," he continued. "Not to my organization, but connected. Protection money to a rival family. Legitimate business as a front. Careful to avoid attention." He turned to face me fully. "And you worked there, for months, after breaking up with the son. How did you—" "I told you, I make calls." His expression was unreadable. "What I don't understand is why. Why stay? Why work for people who clearly wanted you gone? It's complicated. Uncomplicated." I wanted to tell him to go to hell, wanted to walk out, but I was in his penthouse, wearing his borrowed clothes, healed by his doctor, and more than that, I was tired of holding it all inside, tired of protecting people who'd never cared if I broke under the weight. So I told him about Hannah, about the leukemia, about the contract I'd signed, the threats they'd made, about spending 8 months watching the little girl I loved get sicker while I cleaned the rooms of strangers who never saw me, about last night in the basement, about staying silent because speaking would cost a child her life. Tay listened without interrupting. His face remained impassive, but his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. When he finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "This child," he said finally, "Hannah, she's the reason you've endured this? She's 10 years old. She didn't choose any of this. I did. I chose Min-Jun. I chose to get involved with that family. She's just a kid who needs treatment she can't afford without them." "Noble." His tone was flat. "And stupid." "Excuse me? You think your silence protects her, but what happens when you're dead? When they've beaten you one too many times and your ribs puncture your lungs? When they decide you know too much and a convenient accident removes the problem permanently?" He stepped closer. "You think they'll keep paying for her treatment then, out of guilt? They're not. They absolutely are capable of anything." His voice remained quiet, but there was steel underneath. "Your silence doesn't protect her. It just makes you easier to kill." The words hit like another beating, because he was right. I'd told myself I was being selfless, sacrificing my dignity, my safety, my life for a child who needed me. But what I'd really been doing was taking the path of least resistance, accepting abuse because fighting back felt impossible, letting them destroy me because at least then I could pretend I was choosing it, that it meant something. "I don't have any other options," I whispered. "You do now." "What does that mean?" He pulled out his phone, showed me a document. Medical records, insurance information, a transfer of care to a private facility with specialists in pediatric leukemia. This is a treatment plan for Hana Kim, age 10, currently under care at Metro General. Transfer to Park Avenue Children's Hospital, fully funded, effective immediately. He scrolled down. Legal guardianship petition, filed by you. Emergency custody granted based on evidence of familial financial coercion and medical neglect. I stared at the screen. How did you? I told you, I make calls. He put away his phone. The question is whether you accept it, because if you do, the Kim family loses their leverage, and they will retaliate, violently, publicly. They will try to destroy you for taking what they see as their property. Hana isn't property. To them, everyone is property, including you. His eyes were cold again, completely cold. So, you need to decide right now. Do you want to stay silent and keep playing their game, or do you want to burn their world down and save that child? My heart was pounding. My ribs screamed with every breath. Hana, safe, getting real treatment, away from that house, that family, those people who saw her as a burden they couldn't wait to discard. But the cost, God, the cost. If I take her, I said slowly, they'll come after me, after you. They'll use every connection they have. They'll try, Tay smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. And they'll fail, because I'm very good at destroying people who think they're untouchable. Why? I asked again. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't know her. Why risk your resources, your organization, your life for a stranger? He was quiet for a moment. Then he reached up and pulled down his collar slightly, revealing more of the tattoos on his neck. They formed a pattern, a name, I realized, a woman's name in elegant Korean script. Min So, he said quietly. My sister. She was 17, beautiful, smart, wanted to be a doctor. His voice went flat. She fell in love with the wrong person, someone from a rival family. They told her it would be fine, that they'd protect her, that love was enough. He let his collar fall back into place. They beat her to death in an alley, made it look like a robbery, left her with a necklace around her neck, a gift from her boyfriend, a message, a branding, just like your arm. His eyes met mine. I found her 3 hours too late, and I've spent 5 years making sure I'm never late again. The apartment went silent. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be sorry, be smart. Let me save this child the way I couldn't save my sister. He pulled out his phone again. The transfer happens in 20 minutes. Say yes, and Hana Kim becomes Hana James. Say no, and I put everything back the way it was. But understand, this is the only time I'm asking. I thought about Hana, about her gap-toothed smile, and the way she'd braid my hair when I visited, about how she'd gotten so thin I could see her bones. About the last time I'd seen her, she'd asked me why I never came around anymore. I miss you, Miss Zuri. Did I do something wrong? No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. The adults did. All of us. Every single one. Yes, I said. Do it. Save her. Tay made the call. 20 minutes later, my phone, which he'd somehow retrieved from my motel, buzzed with a message. A photo. Hana in a hospital bed, looking confused but safe. A woman in scrubs beside her, smiling gently. The text read, transfer complete. Patient stable and responding well to initial evaluation. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. She's safe now, Tay said quietly. Whatever happens next, she's safe. What happens next? He checked his watch. The wedding starts in 3 hours. Minjun Kim will be at the altar. His mother will be in the front row. Their entire family will be gathered in one place, celebrating a union built on your suffering. He looked at me. And I'm going to make sure they understand exactly what they've lost. What are you going to do? What I do best. He headed for the door. Stay here. Don't leave the apartment. Don't contact anyone. Just wait. Tay! He stopped in the doorway, looked back. Don't kill anyone, I said. Please, I don't want that on my conscience. He studied me for a moment. Then he smiled that not nice smile again. "I'm not going to kill anyone, Zuri James. I'm just going to make them wish I had." I waited, paced the apartment, checked my phone every 5 minutes. The photo of Hannah stayed on my screen like a lifeline. She was safe. That was all that mattered. She was safe and getting treatment and would never have to go back to that house. But the cost. God, the cost was coming. I could feel it like a storm building on the horizon. At 11 a.m., my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Groom delayed. Meeting ran long. Very long. T." At noon, "Family searching. Concerned. Police called. Groom officially missing. T." At 1 p.m., "Wedding postponed. Guests confused. Mrs. Kim making calls. Angry calls. T." At 2 p.m., "Found him. He's cooperative. Having important conversations about contracts, about leverage, about children. T." At 3 p.m., "Min-Jun Kim has filed dissolution papers for family business contracts. Transferred Hannah's medical trust to independent guardian. Funny what people agree to when properly motivated. T." At 4 p.m., "He's asking to speak to you. Says he needs to explain, apologize, beg. Should I allow it? T." I stared at that message for 10 minutes, finally typed, "No, I don't need his apologies. I needed his protection 8 months ago. It's too late now." The response came immediately. "Understood. He'll live with that. T." At 5 p.m., the news broke. I watched it on the penthouse TV, volume turned up high. Breaking news. Min-Jun Kim, heir to the Kim Hotel empire, found confused and disoriented in a parking garage, claiming amnesia, missing for 7 hours, wedding canceled, family in chaos. The reporter interviewed Mrs. Kim. She looked composed, but her eyes were wild. "We don't know what happened. He just disappeared. If anyone has information." She wasn't asking for information. She was sending a message. Someone did this. Someone will pay. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "It's done," Tae said. His voice was calm, satisfied. "Min-Jun doesn't remember the last 7 hours. Medical experts will confirm severe stress-induced amnesia, very real, very documented. He'll recover eventually, probably, but for now he doesn't remember attacking you, doesn't remember his mother's orders, doesn't remember anything except that he should have protected Hannah and didn't. What did you do to him? What he deserved, what his mother deserved, what that entire family deserved for thinking they could brand you and throw you away." A pause. "There's a package being delivered to Mrs. Kim as we speak. Photos, documentation, evidence of every illegal contract they forced you to sign, every threat they made. All of it sent to regulatory agencies, news outlets, competitor organizations. You're destroying them. I'm exposing them. They destroyed themselves. The business will collapse within a month. Investigations will tie them up for years, and every person they've ever brutalized will see that someone fought back, that someone won. I should have felt victorious, should have felt vindicated, should have felt like justice had finally come. Instead, I felt hollow. Hannah, I whispered. What happens to Hannah? She's yours, legally, completely. The trust fund Min-Jun signed over will cover her treatment for life. You'll have housing, support, everything you need to care for her. A pause. The Kim family can't touch you or her, ever. I've made sure of it. How? By making sure everyone knows you're under my protection now, that touching you means going through me, and no one wants to go through me. That should have made me feel safe, but all I felt was the weight, the crushing, suffocating weight of what had just happened, of what I allowed to happen. "I need to tell you something," I said quietly. "Something I should have told you before any of this started. Tell me." Min-Jun's little brother, Jun-Ho, he's 8 years old, lives with the family. He's not like them. He's gentle, sweet. He used to draw pictures for me when I came to visit Hannah. He called me Auntie Zuri. Silence on the line. When the family business collapses, when the investigations start, when their accounts freeze, that little boy loses everything too. his school, his home, his stability, and he didn't do anything wrong. He's just a child, like Hana. More silence. You should have told me this 7 hours ago, Tay said. I know, I'm sorry. I was so focused on Hana, on my pain, on getting justice that I forgot. I forgot that destroying them destroys everyone around them, the innocent ones too. The boy, Tay said slowly, he witnessed what they did to you. Yes, he saw me bleeding in the basement. He tried to help. His mother hit him for it, told him to go to his room and forget what he saw. I heard Tay curse in Korean. This changes things, he said. Can you undo it? Can you stop whatever you started? Some of it, not all. The regulatory agencies have already opened investigations. The media has the story. But the financial destruction, I can pull that back, redirect it. The family won't be wealthy anymore, but they'll survive. The boy will have enough. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is your mercy, not mine, Tay said sharply. I would have burned them all and sorted the bodies later. But you still think about the collateral damage, even after everything they did to you. Someone has to. That's why you'll never survive in my world. He said it like a fact, not an insult. You care too much about the wrong people. Junho isn't the wrong person. He's an 8-year-old boy. Fine. The boy is safe. The family survives with enough to maintain appearances. But Zuri, his voice dropped, your mercy has a price. The Kim family will know you intervened. They'll know you could have destroyed them completely, but held back. They'll see it as weakness. I don't care what they see it as. You should, because they will come for you again. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but eventually they'll test whether that mercy was a one-time thing or a permanent character flaw they can exploit. Then I'll deal with it when it happens. No, his voice went hard. You won't have to, because I'll be watching. And if they come for you again, if they so much as look at you wrong, I won't ask questions. I won't check for innocent bystanders. I'll just end them. Completely. Do you understand? I understood. The wedding, I said. What happened to it? Canceled. Permanently. The bride's family withdrew their support once the investigation started. Apparently they don't want to marry into scandal. A pause. Min Jun is alone now, disgraced, confused, haunted by 7 hours he can't remember but knows changed everything. Good, I said, and meant it. Is it? Tay asked quietly. Because you sound like you're about to cry. He was right. I was. I wanted justice, I whispered. I wanted them to hurt the way they hurt me. But now that they do, now that it's real, all I can think about is Junho losing his home, and Hana asking me why everything fell apart, and Min Jun waking up every day knowing something terrible happened, but not remembering what, and you feel guilty for feeling vindicated. Tay's voice was gentler now, because that's who you are. Someone who suffers and still worries about everyone else's pain. Is that weakness? It's exhausting and admirable. And yes, probably weakness in the world we live in. But it's also why I pulled over last night. Why I didn't just drive past another broken person in the rain. A pause. Because people like you remind people like me that some things are still worth protecting. My tears fell freely now. Come home, Tay said quietly. Come back to the penthouse. Hana's being transferred there this evening. She'll want to see you, and you need to be there when she wakes up in a safe place for the first time in months. Okay, I managed. Zuri? Yeah? You did the right thing, telling me about the boy, stopping me before I went too far. His voice was soft now, almost kind. Min So would have done the same thing, would have made me spare the innocent ones even when I wanted to burn everything down. I miss that about her. I'm sorry you lost her. So am I. But I found you bleeding in the rain, and I saved Hana. Maybe that's what Min So wanted, for me to keep saving people, even when it's complicated, even when it costs something. He hung up. I sat in the silence of the penthouse, watching the sun set over the city. Somewhere out there, the Kim family was dealing with the consequences of their cruelty. Min Jun was trying to remember 7 hours he can't remember but knows changed everything. Mrs. Kim was making desperate calls to lawyers, accountants, anyone who could stop the bleeding. And Jun-ho was probably in his room, drawing pictures, unaware that his world had just shifted on its axis. But Hana was safe. That was what mattered. That was what I'd wanted, what I'd suffered for. So why did it feel like I'd lost something irretrievable in the process? Hana arrived at 7 p.m. The doctors wheeled her in, still hooked to an IV, wrapped in blankets. She looked so small, so fragile, but when she saw me, her face lit up with that gap-toothed smile I'd missed so much. "Miss Zuri!" She tried to sit up. The nurses gently pushed her back down. "What's happening? They said I'm staying with you now? Is that real?" I knelt beside the wheelchair, taking her small hand in mine. "It's real, baby. You're going to live with me now. Get the best treatment, be safe." "What about Mom and Min Jun?" Mom. She still called Mrs. Kim Mom, even though the woman never treated her like a daughter. "They're dealing with some things right now," I said carefully, "but you don't have to worry about that. You just have to focus on getting better." "Did something bad happen?" Children always know. They sense the truth even when you try to hide it. "Something complicated happened," I said. "But the important thing is, you're safe now. You're going to be okay." She studied my face with those 2 old eyes. Then she squeezed my hand. "You look sad, Miss Zuri." "I'm not sad. I'm relieved." "You can be both," she said with the wisdom of someone who'd spent too many months in hospitals. "I'm both all the time." God, I loved this child. The nurses helped settle her in the guest bedroom Tay somehow converted into a child's room in the span of hours. Soft sheets, stuffed animals, a TV on the wall, medical equipment tucked discreetly in the corner, everything she needed. As they worked, my phone buzzed. Text from Tay. "Is she settled?" Me. "Yes, thank you. For everything." Tay. "Don't thank me yet. There's someone here who wants to talk to you. Says it's urgent." Me. "Who?" Tay. "Mrs. Kim." My blood went cold. Me. "How did she find you?" Tay. "I let her find me. She's been calling everyone she knows, making threats, demanding meetings, so I gave her one. She's in my office now, very angry, very desperate. What does she want? To negotiate, to beg, to threaten? Hard to tell. She keeps switching between strategies. Should I send her away, or do you want to face her?" I looked at Hana, now sleeping peacefully in clean sheets with proper medical care. Safe, protected, mine. Then I looked at my bandaged arm, at the word carved on my skin, at the price I'd paid for her safety. Me. "I'll come. Give me 30 minutes. Tay's office was in a building downtown. Luxury high-rise, 20th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Everything was black marble and dark wood. Intimidating, expensive, designed to make visitors feel small. Mrs. Kim sat in a chair across from Tay's desk. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion, the fear, the rage burning in her eyes. When I walked in, she stood up so fast her chair scraped against the marble. "You," she hissed, "you did this. You destroyed my family." "I protected a child," I said calmly. "There's a difference." Hana was perfectly safe with us. She was dying while you debated whether she was worth the cost. Mrs. Kim's face went red. She turned to Tay. "This woman is delusional. She's been stalking my family for months. Mrs. Kim, Tay's voice was ice. "I have 7 hours of recorded conversation with your son. Detailed descriptions of everything you did to Miss James, including the branding." He leaned back in his chair. "I also have testimony from Jun-ho, your youngest son, who saw everything and finally felt safe enough to speak." The color drained from Mrs. Kim's face. "Jun-ho talked to you?" "Through his school counselor, who contacted protective services, who contacted me." Tay smiled. "It wasn't nice." Children have a way of remembering the truth when adults try to bury it. He's lying. He's confused. He's 8 and traumatized and very, very honest about what he witnessed. Tay pulled out a file. Would you like to hear the recording? He describes watching you carve a word into Miss James's arm while she begged you to stop. He describes trying to help her and being struck for his compassion. Shall I play it? Mrs. Kim sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking. What do you want? Money? I can pay you. Name your price. Just make this go away. I don't want your money, Tay said. I want you to understand something. He stood up, walked around the desk, leaned against it directly in front of her, arms crossed. You treated Miss James like garbage because you thought she had no power, no connections, no way to fight back. You were wrong. His voice was quiet, deadly. She has me now, and I have resources you can't imagine. Connections that make your family business look like a lemonade stand. The ability to destroy you so completely that your grandchildren will feel it. Mrs. Kim's eyes filled with tears. Real tears, I realized. Terrified tears. Please, she whispered. Jun-ho needs his home, his school, his mother should have thought of that before she tortured someone in her basement. Tay straightened. But Miss James, who you called a burden, who you branded like cattle, she thought of him. She stopped me from destroying you completely because she didn't want an innocent child to suffer. He glanced at me. She has more mercy in her broken ribs than you have in your entire body. Mrs. Kim looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time I saw something other than disgust in her eyes, fear. I'm sorry, she said. The words sounded foreign in her mouth, like she'd never apologized for anything in her life. I was wrong about you, about Hana, about everything. Yes, I said simply, you were. Can you? She swallowed hard. Hana was perfectly safe with us. She was dying while you debated whether she was worth the cost. Mrs. Kim's face went red. She turned to Tay. This woman is delusional. She's been stalking my family for months. Mrs. Kim, Tay's voice was ice. I have 7 hours of recorded conversation with your son. Detailed descriptions of everything you did to Miss James, including the branding. He leaned back in his chair. I also have testimony from Jun-ho, your youngest son, who saw everything and finally felt safe enough to speak. The color drained from Mrs. Kim's face. Jun-ho talked to you? Through his school counselor, who contacted protective services, who contacted me. Tay smiled. It wasn't nice. Children have a way of remembering the truth when adults try to bury it. He's lying. He's confused. He's 8 and traumatized and very, very honest about what he witnessed. Tay pulled out a file. Would you like to hear the recording? He describes watching you carve a word into Miss James's arm while she begged you to stop. He describes trying to help her and being struck for his compassion. Shall I play it? Mrs. Kim sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking. What do you want? Money? I can pay you. Name your price. Just make this go away. I don't want your money, Tay said. I want you to understand something. He stood up, walked around the desk, leaned against it directly in front of her, arms crossed. You treated Miss James like garbage because you thought she had no power, no connections, no way to fight back. You were wrong. His voice was quiet, deadly. She has me now, and I have resources you can't imagine. Connections that make your family business look like a lemonade stand. The ability to destroy you so completely that your grandchildren will feel it. Mrs. Kim's eyes filled with tears. Real tears, I realized. Terrified tears. Please, she whispered. Jun-ho needs his home, his school, his mother should have thought of that before she tortured someone in her basement. Tay straightened. But Miss James, who you called a burden, who you branded like cattle, she thought of him. She stopped me from destroying you completely because she didn't want an innocent child to suffer. He glanced at me. She has more mercy in her broken ribs than you have in your entire body. Mrs. Kim looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time I saw something other than disgust in her eyes, fear. "I'm sorry," she said. The words sounded foreign in her mouth, like she'd never apologized for anything in her life. I was wrong about you, about Hannah, about everything. "Yes," I said simply, "you were. Can you—" She swallowed hard. "Can you forgive me?" The question hung in the air. Could I forgive her? The woman who'd carved a word into my skin, who'd beaten me, degraded me, thrown me into the street like I was nothing? I thought about Hannah sleeping safely in clean sheets. I thought about Junho finally able to tell the truth. I thought about Minjun haunted by 7 hours he couldn't remember. I thought about myself standing in the rain, bleeding, believing I deserved it. "No," I said quietly, "I can't forgive you. Not now. Maybe not ever. What you did was unforgivable." Mrs. Kim's face crumpled. "But," I continued, "I won't destroy you either, for Junho's sake, for the memory of the woman you might have been before hate made you cruel. You'll lose your business, your reputation, your power, but you'll keep enough to survive, to take care of your son, to maybe someday look at yourself and feel ashamed." I stepped closer. "And if you ever come near me, Hannah, or anyone I care about again, I won't stop him." I nodded at Tay. "I'll let him finish what he started. Do you understand?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Say it," Tay commanded. "I understand. I'll stay away. I'll leave you alone. Her voice broke. "I'll live with what I've done." "Good," Tay said. He walked to the door, opened it. "My men will escort you out. You have 24 hours to close your personal accounts and secure housing for Junho. After that, the financial investigations begin in earnest. I suggest you use the time wisely." Mrs. Kim stood on shaking legs, walked to the door, paused. "For what it's worth," she said, not looking at me, "I see it now, what Minjun saw in you. Why She stopped. "You're stronger than I ever was, than I'll ever be." Then she left. The door closed. Silence filled the office. If you believe that mercy doesn't mean weakness, smash that subscribe button right now for love and tension. Comment justice if you think Zuri made the right choice sparing Junho, or revenge if you think she should have let Tay destroy them completely. I want to hear what you think, because what comes next will test everything. Tay poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed me one. "You let her go," he said. "You knew I would. I hoped you would. There's a difference." He sipped his drink. "Min So would have done the same, would have chosen mercy when I wanted blood. Does that make me like your sister, or make her like me? It makes you both better than me." He smiled faintly. "And it's why I'll never stop pulling over for broken people in the rain, because maybe one of them will remind me that mercy still exists." I drank the whiskey. It burned. "Good. What happens now?" I asked. "Now you take care of Hannah. You heal. You build a life that doesn't include looking over your shoulder." He set down his glass. "And I make sure no one ever makes you look over your shoulder again. That's not your responsibility. I'm making it my responsibility." He met my eyes. "You're under my protection now, Zuri James, whether you want it or not. That's the price of my intervention. I didn't ask for protection. You didn't ask to be carved up and thrown in the street either. Life doesn't ask permission." He walked to the windows. "The Kim family will leave you alone, but there will be others, people who see your mercy as weakness, who think they can test you the way Mrs. Kim did, and when they come, because they will, I'll be there." "Why?" He didn't answer immediately, just stared out at the city lights. "Because 5 years ago, I wasn't there for Min So, and I've spent every day since trying to be there for someone else. Anyone else." He looked back at me. You don't have to understand it. You just have to accept it. And if I don't, then I'll protect you anyway. He shrugged. Like I said, not asking permission. I should have been angry, should have felt trapped, but all I felt was exhausted. And strangely, unexpectedly safe. Thank you, I said quietly, for everything. For Hana, for stopping before you went too far, for, my voice caught, for asking who did it when no one else cared enough to ask. He nodded once. Go home. Be with Hana. Sleep. Tomorrow starts the hard part. What's the hard part? Living with what we've done, with the choices we made, with the people we saved and the people we destroyed in the process. His expression went distant. That's always the hardest part. Hana's hair grew back, soft and curly and beautiful. She stood in front of the mirror in our new apartment, smaller than Tay's penthouse, but ours, and ran her fingers through the short curls with wonder. Look, Missouri, it's growing. I see it, baby. It's beautiful. We'd moved into a 2-bedroom apartment across town 3 months ago. Nothing fancy, but clean, safe, ours. The medical trust paid for Hana's treatment, which was going well. The doctors were optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but it was more hope than we'd had in months. I'd gotten a new job, administrative work at a nonprofit that helped abuse survivors. The pay was decent, the work was hard, but I was good at it. Turned out surviving made you qualified to help other survivors. Turned out my silence had taught me to hear when others were silent too. Tay checked in weekly, text messages, occasional visits. He never stayed long, just long enough to make sure we were safe, that no one was bothering us, that the Kim family was keeping their distance. They were. Mrs. Kim moved to a smaller house across town. Jun-ho was in a new school, doing better according to the reports Tay somehow acquired. Jun-min disappeared from public life. Rumor was he'd moved abroad, trying to escape the ghosts of 7 hours he couldn't remember. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel much about any of them anymore. Just a distant, cold acknowledgement that they existed in the same city, but no longer in my life. The word on my arm healed into a scar, white against my dark skin. Still visible, still ugly, but somehow it didn't hurt the way it used to. Burden. I'd carried that word long before they carved it into my flesh. Carried it in the way people looked at me, spoke to me, dismissed me, in the way I'd learned to take up less space, ask for less, expect less. But I wasn't a burden. Hana proved that every day, every smile, every moment of health, every night she fell asleep safe and loved. I saved her by staying silent, then saved her again by speaking. Both were true. Both mattered. On a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss James? A woman's voice. Professional. Careful. My name is Detective Park. I'm calling about an investigation into the Kim family's business practices. We've received some concerning information. We'd like to ask you some questions. Would you be willing to speak with us? My heart stopped. What kind of questions? About your employment with them. About contracts you signed. About, a pause, about injuries you sustained while working there. The investigation. 6 months later, it was finally reaching me. I looked at Hana playing with her dolls in the living room. Happy, healthy, safe. I looked at the scar on my arm. I thought about Mrs. Kim's tears, about Jun-ho's drawings, about Jun-min's lost 7 hours. Miss James, I'll speak with you, I said quietly. But I want immunity, for myself and for a minor in my care, and I want assurance that an 8-year-old boy named Jun-ho Kim won't be punished for his family's crimes. We can arrange that. Then I'll tell you everything. And I did. Over the next 3 months, I told investigators every detail, showed them the contracts, the threats, the scars, let doctors photograph and document everything. The case built slowly, carefully. Other victims came forward, other people who'd been brutalized by the Kim family's casual cruelty. Together, we built something unbreakable. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Mrs. Kim was convicted of assault, coercion, and labor law violations, sentenced to 4 years. Her brothers got longer. Jun Min was cleared of direct involvement, but lost everything else. The family business collapsed completely. Jun Ho went to live with his grandmother, a kind woman who cried when she learned what her daughter had done, who promised to do better, to be better. I testified on his behalf, asked the court to consider that he was innocent, that he'd tried to help, that children shouldn't pay for their parents' sins. The judge agreed. On the day the sentencing was read, I sat in the back of the courtroom with Hana beside me. She squeezed my hand as Mrs. Kim was led away in handcuffs. "Is it over, Miss Zuri?" "Yeah, baby, it's over." But it wasn't really. Because that night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I thought about the cost, about the price of my silence and then my voice. Hana was alive, safe, thriving. Junho was protected, with family who loved him. The Kim family's victims got justice, got validation, got proof that someone cared. But Jun Min was broken. Mrs. Kim would spend years in prison. An entire family legacy was destroyed. And I still had nightmares. Still woke up reaching for the carved word on my arm. Still heard Mrs. Kim's voice telling me I was a burden. Still felt the rain and the blood and the moment I'd believed I deserved it all. Mercy and justice. Silence and voice. Sacrifice and salvation. None of it was clean. None of it was simple. I'd saved Hana by staying silent, then saved her again by speaking. Both were necessary. Both cost something I'd never get back. My phone buzzed. Text from Tay. "Saw the sentencing. Are you okay?" I stared at the message for a long time, then typed, "I don't know. Am I supposed to feel good about this?" Tay, "You're supposed to feel whatever you feel. There's no right answer when everyone loses something." Me, "Did I do the right thing?" Tay, "You saved a child twice. If that's not right, nothing is." Me, "But the cost," Tay, "is always high. That's what makes it sacrifice. That's what makes it matter." I set down the phone, walked to Hana's room. She was sleeping peacefully, her curls spread across the pillow. So small, so alive. I pressed my hand against the doorframe and let myself cry for everything I'd lost, everything I'd sacrificed, every moment of silence that protected her and destroyed me, for Min Jun's broken memories, for Mrs. Kim's bitter tears, for Jun Ho's trauma and his grandmother's guilt, for the version of myself that had died in that rain-soaked street, believing I was a burden someone had finally decided to throw away. That woman was gone, buried under scar tissue and testimony and the weight of choices that had no good answers. In her place was someone harder, someone who knew that mercy and justice weren't opposites. They were sisters, locked in eternal conflict, both necessary, both painful. Someone who'd learned that staying silent could save a life, and speaking up could destroy one. The truth was this. I'd begged Tay not to ask again, not to dig, not to act. But he'd asked anyway. He'd acted anyway. And in 7 hours, the groom was gone. My silence, meant to save a child, had ultimately destroyed the last connection I had to any family at all. The Kim family was scattered, broken, punished. But Hana was alive, and maybe that's all that mattered. Or maybe that's what I told myself to sleep at night. I closed Hana's door gently and walked back to my room, lay down in the darkness, traced the scar on my arm with my fingers. Burden. They'd meant it as an insult, a brand, a permanent reminder of what I was worth. But I'd carried Hana through her illness, carried the weight of silence, carried the guilt of speaking, carried the consequences of mercy and the price of justice. I'd carried it all, and I was still standing. If that made me a burden, then I'd carry that too. Outside, the city lights flickered like distant stars. Rain started to fall, gentle and steady, washing the streets clean. Somewhere in that rain, other people were bleeding. Other people were being thrown away. Other people were learning they'd been called a burden long before anyone touched them. I hoped they found their mercies. I hoped someone stopped to ask. I hoped they survived the answer, because justice comes anyway, and it takes everything with it. Thank you for watching this story on love and tension. If this made you feel something, anger, sadness, hope, or just a need to comment, then I've done my job. Drop a like if you believe silent sacrifices matter.